Try this for me. As soon as I say the following words, see what image comes into your mind. Full moon, starlit sky, rainbows, snow-clad mountains, lush green valley, Empire State Building, mother, love. So as soon as I use these words, you had an image in your mind, right? You had an image. Of course, there was no image in the brain, and only neurochemical activity. You didn't experience neurochemical activity. You experienced images. So language and imagination are deeply intertwined, with words evoking vivid mental images that can also elicit biological responses. Merely thinking of a word like elephant, starlit sky, conjures corresponding pictures in the mind, not in the brain, in the mind. This entanglement extends to the body. For example, sexual thoughts or words can trigger sexual images, which in turn can trigger physiological arousal. Imagining a lemon's taste can induce salivation. And I could give many, many examples. So the implications of this mind-body connection are very profound, potentially influencing health and well-being at the cellular level. This is what I proposed in my book, Quantum Healing, in 1988, suggesting that our thoughts, our images, our feelings, our emotions, and going deep into the source of these experiences in meditation could evoke healing. The book was vilified by the academic profession, my colleagues, so much so that I thought I was going to be fired, and I resigned from many positions before I was fired, went to California, and same thing happened there as well. Then recently, of course, I published Quantum Biology with the now obvious evidence from epigenetics and neuroplasticity. So there's now more than ample evidence that biological effects of imagination and also even words linked with imagination can affect our health for good or better. Biological effects of imagination can now be scientifically measured and observed through various methods, including brain imaging techniques like functional magnetic resonance imaging, or what is called fMRI, which can detect brain activity patterns associated with imagination. Studies have shown that imagining a threat activates similar brain regions as actually encountering it. EEG studies in electroencephalography can measure brain potentials linked to imagination. Research has found differences in ERP components like N400 and LPP when comparing perception versus imagination of various stimuli. Physiological responses like skin conductance can be measured to track bodily reactions during imagined scenarios. Anatomical brain imaging has revealed correlations between imagination ability and the volume of specific brain regions like the hippocampus. Neurotransmitter and hormone levels can be measured to detect the biological changes associated with imagination. So many, many studies are now coming out also the impact of physiological responses like heart rate and blood pressure. Even mildly anxious thoughts or images can increase heart rate and produce sensations in the gut, muscles, and bladder. This demonstrates that imagination alone can trigger measurable physiological changes. And there are many studies that show that even imagining yourself as whole or healed or holy um, or in perfect health can trigger neurotransmitter releases, affect immune function, and affect hormonal levels. So, physiological changes of imagination um, are very profound. Today, there is a lot of research on neural monitoring of heartbeats and uh, the connection to brain activity and and changes at epigenetic and genetic activity at a very fundamental level. And this, needless to say, involves quantum effects. I believe that imagination is a quantum phenomenon, and I shall share the data on that with you. Meanwhile, if you're suffering from any chronic illness, start imagining your way to perfect health. Also, use words like um, joyful, energetic body, loving, compassionate heart, clear, creative mind, lightness of being, and then see which images crop up in your imagination, and then hold those images. That's called dharana. Hold those images in your consciousness. And then, if you can maintain those images in your consciousness, that is called dhyan or meditation. Dharana is holding on to the image. Dhyan is continuous awareness of that image, as in meditation, and then samadhi, transcendence, getting to the level where you and the image become one. And this is really the scientific basis of quantum healing. I've talked about this before, and I'll continue to explore this with you. And if you have any questions, just go to digitaldeepak.ai and ask me any question about quantum healing and other things, and we can engage in a conversation. And thank you for indulging me in these explorations. I feel great delight in sharing these ideas with you.